Hey fam, welcome back to Lots of Podcast. We're on episode 6. Now, obviously, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. But today, we've got one of my favorites, one that I would love to play alongside, the Averyl Mitchell from Super Dub, and over there in Australia. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good bro. How are you?
All good. We're all good, man. Obviously, some people might not know who you are. So if for those that don't know who you are, please introduce yourself. Give us a bit of background. Who you are, what you're about.
My name's Averyl. I live in Brisbane, Queensland, in Australia. I played with Nell at West Brisbane Panthers. Probably one of my favourite seasons of club footy I've ever been involved in, and that was unreal. So at the moment I play for the Queensland Reds. In Queensland in the Super W, and I've been lucky in the last 12 months to represent Australia against Japan and New Zealand. So for the Wallaroos in rugby union. So that's probably a little bit of my footy background for sure.
Sick. And have you always lived in Brisbane? Like you were brought up
Yeah,
there, and
I was born here and lived here my whole life. So sounds a little bit lamer when you say it like that, but no,
you're good.
I love Brisbane. Obviously, a massive Brisbane Broncos fan. I think
What?
when you're in Brisbane, it's one of those things. It's sort of like the only team up here. It's not nothing else is quite as big. So Brisbane my whole life.
Yeah, no, sick. And what about like your family? Do you come from a big family or?
Just me, mum and dad, and my brother. He's a year older than me.
Yeah, cool.
He lives up in Townsville in Queensland.
Yeah, sick. Oh, that's pretty cool. And obviously, like outside of footy, and then what do you kind of get up to, like work wise, and or some other hobbies you might have? Surely you've got some hobbies
Oh,
outside of footy.
it's depends what time of the season it is. Doesn't have too much time outside of in some bits of the season, but no, I'm a graphic designer, so I really
That's cool.
I really like art and drawing and stuff. So I really enjoy that. Um, but yeah, outside of footy, I like I like camping. I like hanging out with my friends. I like my dog. Like pretty like not super fancy or anything, but yeah, just probably drawing and those other things, and like getting coffee with my mates is they're probably my favorite things outside of footy.
Yeah, epic. And I'm glad you brought up the graphic design because I remember at Panthers you can't keep that quiet, and then like when it came to like the grand final, he just come out of nowhere with this banner. I remember the
Oh
day,
yo.
and I was like, "What? Who did that?" And I thought everyone was like undercover, like the whole season, didn't say anything. And then next, it wasn't just like, "Go Panthers." Like I'm gonna chuck up like a bit of a snippet of it, but it was crazy good. And then you put together a video as well. So like, how long have you been doing that? Like, you go to uni or stuff like that, or was it just something like kind of just pick up?
I've always I've always drawn and stuff. I don't think I had one neat school book all through school. Like I'm like quite a doodler, and any little bit of paper like that gets left around. You want to hope it's not that important because I've probably drawn on it at some stage.
Yeah,
Um, but not like and that was like, I we had made the finals and really hadn't expected to, and I couldn't play because I'd broken my collarbone, and like you want to find some small way of getting around everyone, and that was sort of like doing that, and you were probably like, I think I put it all together, but you made all the pieces, so that
oh,
was a bit of a collaborative effort, that video, mate. It was it's always been something I've done. I didn't go to uni for it until that year that I played league. So I sort of got my diploma of graphic design, and yeah, that was really good. And I figured if I was going to be poor, I might as well be poor and do something that I like. So yeah, that was sort of the reason behind that, and I really enjoy it. And it's quite flexible too, which is good.
Yeah. There was I think it might have been around the same time when you were at the Panthers. You did a bit of work with or the Reds, or it might have been after. Was it around like design as well?
Yeah, yeah, that probably I think it would have been a bit after. I think it would have been just
Yeah.
a little bit after. But yeah, so I'm still I still do the like graphic design for the Reds. Obviously, we're
Shit.
doing this interview in the just sort of, I wouldn't say the heart of COVID, but certainly like we're all still on JobKeeper here in Australia, which is like everyone's sort of been stood down but still works a couple of days a week. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like it's good, and it's good to keep doing work, but still just working sort of a couple of days a week on that sort of thing. So yeah, just still coming out of it.
Yeah. And like speaking of COVID, obviously everyone's been obviously affected in some way, but like how have you been like keeping sane during this just isolation period? Obviously everyone's different, but for yourself, like what was isolation like for you?
Oh, I really struggled. Hey, um yeah, like you want to put out, like, when it sort of happened, it was, I didn't really, and like I'm not somebody who's at high risk, other than not wanting to keep training and not wanting to affect other people around me with footy. But yeah, just having to be home and like stuck in the house and everything all the time, especially for those first couple of weeks, it was really overwhelming, and you don't
Mm,
really like, yeah, it was really, I didn't cope well with it that first couple of weeks.
mm,
But I started doing, like, I just had to do stuff that felt productive and filled my day. So I started helping, like, just getting like yard jobs and stuff around the house, and like
yeah,
that sort of thing. And accruing some sibling brownie points, like trying to get
nice.
one over my brother for a while. So
The one competitive.
yeah, so that helped me out a bit. Like, keeping busy is really important for me. And
Yeah,
suddenly I had all this free time, and I was like, no.
yeah, exactly. It's so like that, eh? And I was quite the same like the first couple of weeks. It's like
Mm,
sweet, just relax, get all the time in the world, sleep in, and then after a couple of weeks, it's like, okay, you kind of need to put a bit of a routine, in place.
yo,
So,
yo, yeah,
did
for
you find
sure.
like for yourself, like, because obviously like drawing in it, did you find yourself drawing a lot more during that time, or?
Yo, yeah. Like, and especially I find that if I'm stressed, or if I'm having a bit of a hard time with whatever, I do draw more. It's like quite an outlet for me.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
and like I'll just like put on like a podcast and just like draw for
Yeah.
ages and ages. And like, especially I'd like get to evenings, and I'm not used to having evenings off.
Oh yeah, true.
Like,
Yeah.
it would get to like 4 p.m., and 4 p.m. is when I'd usually finish work and then go to footy or like training. And then the nights when I wasn't training, I was probably like kicking a footy or like hanging out with my friends, or like that would be my one night off. And
Mm.
suddenly it would get to 4 p.m. and I'd be like, what do I do with my like brain in this
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
And like,
Exactly.
yeah, I really wasn't used to it. So that was a really good coping skill to just like get me through. It probably only lasts like 2 or 3 hours, but they were a real struggle, and that was something that really helped me get through that. Was like, all right, just like put some music in or listen to a podcast and just draw for a bit. And yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah, that's sick. That's awesome to hear. Obviously, everyone like copes in a different way. Like for myself, I like to write, and for you, it's draw.
Yeah.
So everyone kind of finds their own rhythm, I guess. But look, moving into your footy, I know you touched on it a bit before, but Like, how'd you get into it? Like, was it league first or union first, and like who kind of inspired you to start up footy?
Well, I always so obviously living in Brisbane, Broncos are on TV, Friday night footy, pretty much every Friday night. So I grew up watching them.
Yeah,
Was always a big Broncos fan. Didn't know, especially when I came up too. So I graduated high school in 2012,
yeah,
and I started playing footy the year after.
yeah.
Um, I just didn't know it was a thing. Hey, like I didn't know you could play. I knew I'd always loved it.
Oh,
But
true.
I just thought I really liked watching it. And then I was going through a bit of a period in my life that was a bit transitional, moving from I was hanging out with all my high school mates. Drinking all the time wasn't working real well for me. So I was
Yeah,
like looking for maybe new social avenues.
yeah.
And admittedly, a rugby club was probably a challenging one to go to if I wanted to avoid getting on the piss too much. But no, but that was suddenly I just walked past it at uni one day at the University of Queensland here, just because I was hanging out with a mate there, and walked past, and uh, they were they were training or whatever, and I just sort of rocked up that next session and just didn't stop rocking up. They couldn't
That's
get rid of
epic.
me. I played union at UQ here for 4 years,
Yeah,
um, and then I played a year of league, and then with the West Brisbane Panthers, and then I came back to um, and then I trialed for the Reds, and I'd trialed for the Reds in the past, but hadn't made the first callback sort of thing.
yeah.
And so that was really I'd played this fantastic season of league. It was the best thing that ever happened to my footy, and
That was an epic season.
it was the best. Hey, it
I
was the
was
best season.
so cool. Like, I know for me, like that was one of my favorites as well. Just so many
I've never felt
epic.
love for a team like that. Hey,
Yeah,
just wanting to win for each other so bad.
yeah, and like definitely I think when it started getting more to like the crunch, like
Yeah.
we're getting towards that closure period, and I think I got injured first, out with concussion, and then I remember you were out, and we were like injury buddies pretty much. Like, still followed the
Yeah.
team around, went to training and stuff, and
Yeah,
like the
number one fans,
environment
eh?
was just like, yeah, we were pretty much like fangirling them, like like follow them around. Water, yeah, you just want water, like what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Anybody
because it was the
thirsty?
culture, it was
Yeah.
just like you just wanted to be amongst it, and
Yeah, and just the vibe, you can't sort of engineer that vibe, and massive shout out to Greeny too.
yeah,
I really rate him. Hey, he sort of took me as I just rocked up to play some pickup games the season before for Panthers, and then he just pumped my tires when no one else was. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that just made me feel 10 feet tall, and you play better when you're confident too.
yeah,
So yeah, he just he pumped my tires, and I honestly that season of league did more for me as a footy player and as a person. And I grew so much in that, just and even just my attitude towards fitness and stuff.
yeah,
Um,
100%,
yeah, it's
yeah,
like the fitness is a different beast for league. Hey, you think
mate,
you're fit in union, and then you rock up to league, and you I would never pull myself off the field in union in a million years.
100%.
League, I'm putting my hand up. I'm I will. There's
One
a
head
hole.
up,
I'm a
like,
massive
yeah.
liability right here. Get me off.
It's so true because I remember and I'll never forget the first um training session, and it was what do you call it? It was Benny, or
Oh yeah,
um coming into preseason, or like in that transition period, and he's like, line up. Just I hate that line. Like everyone on the line. Everyone hates the
yep.
white line.
Your guts just drop out.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I feel sick. Yeah.
You feel so hyped up about season, and they're like, "Okay, everyone on the white line." And I just remember just everyone. You're so nervous, and then I just remember him being like, he doesn't care about like how talented you are, just effort. And I remember like I'm pretty sure I almost screwed up that session. Like I learned how to do the Broncos and all that. And I was just like, who
Yo,
created this stuff, man? Like,
yo,
and because in union, it's not like you do your yo-yo test or like the beat test.
yo.
Never heard of a Bronco, never heard of these run 10, get up, go 10. Like, none of that.
Oh,
And
that back 10, hey, like,
I remember there was one specific session. Denny was like, I think we're doing a set of 6, and everyone had to yell out, yeah, 1, 2 after each
oh,
set, and
yo,
one
I remember
person
those.
missed, man. And we were like at the end of the set, and we start the whole thing again, and it's just like another level I like. But
Yeah, it's a different level, and like union's a different kind of, yeah, it's a different, they're different. They're like, but like league, I probably play about 8 kilos lighter just because I wouldn't be able to sustain, like,
yeah,
I'd want to be heavier for union, but definitely a bit lighter for league just to get around the park because yeah, it's full on.
yeah. And like you touched on like Greeny and like kind of like the impact he had
Yeah,
on you, and I can vouch it as well, man. Like when especially when I was going through injuries, like he's the one person who didn't need to post it up on like for everyone to see, but he'd send me a message like,
yeah.
how you doing, checking in, and like for you, like how much has like coaches kind of impacted your footy journey, not just in league but in maybe in union as well. Like how important is their influence on how you play or how you train or prepare?
When you like Greeny will still message me and tell me to wear headgear because I'm running into stuff with my head. He's like, mate, you need to wear headgear. You run into things with your head, you idiot. Like, which is not wrong, but
Yeah,
like Greeny's like for as long as like I could never speak more highly of him. And like when when people can get nothing by building somebody up, like I had nothing to offer him
yeah,
other than I was going to have a crack, and like he built me up when I had nothing to offer him, like he yeah, so like I would credit him and Benny Matthews as well, but the Greens and that with just like like I really rate Craig Green, and you play for your coach too.
yeah,
You know, when you want to, you play for your teammates and not wanting to let your coach down, and if you've got great coaches who you like love and
yeah,
inspire you, the idea of letting them down is just it builds that culture, and it builds that knowing someone's got your back as
yeah,
well, knowing somebody backs you. It's pretty unreal. Coaches have, I reckon coaches have a huge effect. Like, I don't know, like a good
100%.
example is probably like Wayne Bennett. Like, players follow him. Like, they'll just go to whatever club he's coaching at because they love that ethos and he gets the best out of them and he's there
Yeah,
for them.
yeah,
And
definitely.
that's, yeah. And like, just having that kind of person, huge. I reckon it makes a huge influence. And yeah, Greeny's one of those coaches who's had a huge influence on me.
Yeah, and I think it's so true, Like they do play a massive role, and some coaches might actually watch this and be like, "What? Just kind of just put my hand up to volunteer," But like for
Yeah,
people like Greeny, I know for myself, he helped me a lot in league, a lot in the belief system. Like I was kind of new coming into league, loved union with a passion, and then
yeah.
was kind of trying, this whole league thing out, and that's what you're doing, busy. It's more league, and yeah, he was just some of the stuff he'd be like, you got this, like, just believe in yourself, and little things like that. To a coach might seem so insignificant, but for a player,
Yeah.
it could be huge, man. It could be like the difference between whether they perform well or not on that game.
And that's it. Like, had I not spent that season with Greeny, just like really building my confidence. I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to go play for Reds,
Yeah.
you know, but like because like he just really he made me a better player, and you know, you want to play for a great coach,
Yeah.
you know, and I like that confidence is huge.
And before we moved to uni, 'cause you mentioned it before, obviously during that grand final time, wasn't too far before that, you injured your collarbone. I remember that like so clearly. Like I remember everyone's, because that's how close knit we were as a team. Like when one person got injured, it was like everyone felt it. And
Yeah.
for you, like obviously leading into the grand final, like not being able to play, then actually being at the stadium, and I remember, like my emotions was like running high. Then, like, am I happy? Am I sad that I'm missing out? You know, and for you, like,
Yeah.
what kind of emotions were you running through your head at that time? Because grand finals is massive, like especially over in Brisbane,
And
like.
it was at the Titans Stadium, Seabus Super Stadium, and at that time that was the biggest stadium I'd ever been in. Like the
Yeah,
closest I'd ever been was like spectating at, you know, Ballymore, and then to be standing there, like
just
it was
casually walking onto the field. Yeah,
and so I'd it was in the last game of it was 6 weeks out from the grand final, because I remember being like, it was a 6-week injury minimum, and it was 6 weeks out from our final. Like it was like, it would, like I would never be able to get back and play in time. And and I remember it was pretty like, and anyone who's had that sort of injury, or you know, anyone like it, you know, the same thing. You're so excited for the team. You've got so much like love and emotion in your heart, but there's also that like, you just wish you're out there.
yeah,
And you know, and like I remember that final, we didn't get pumped. We put up a really solid fight, but like, you know, Burley got it over us by a significant margin. And
mm,
seeing your teammates, and like, it was the wars out there. Hey, like
100%.
there was like Ussie's got a concussion. She's trying to go back on.
They're
They're
just throwing
saying,
everything, eh? Like I remember,
yeah, and
yeah,
like everyone was busted, and just not being able to help. Like you just want to get out there and rip in with these people who, you know, you've gone to battle with so many times, and you just want to get out there beside them again, and you know, hurt together, and you can't do anything. But I just remember being so proud to be part of that team, and part of that, you know, because I don't think we hadn't won. We came in 4th to the finals,
yeah,
and then so we had to knock out everyone on our way.
exactly, yeah. Alright, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, we pretty much started from the bottom, and I remember it was like that crunch is like do or die,
yeah.
and reading speeches in the
Oi,
sheets where do or die.
they were full on. Hey, and you just were like, you're sitting there and you've got like goosebumps rolling up like the back of your neck, and like I just got goosebumps now sitting in the car thinking about them, and like, you know, just absolutely everyone putting in for each other, and to win against every win felt like a grand final. We won against East, and I just remember having like, I'm not a crier. I'm not that teary, and I just remember we won against East, and we hadn't won against them all season,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
we won against them, and I'm sure Bridget Smith. I feel like that was a game where it was a Bridget Smith show. Like I think she turned up
Yeah,
just like standard in
and
that
she
game. But
does, you know, like
as always,
when it
what a
counts.
pairing. What was it, like a 6 center pairing, you two out there? Like you just like read each other like nothing else, you two. Like she'd flick past, you'd somehow just be there. I'd be like, how have they planned
Actually,
to
I
know?
remember actually one of the Souths game, and she had said like run an X, and so we
Yeah,
went to go run an X, but the girl on the other team heard, so she rushed deep, and
yeah,
Brady just chucked this weird ass ball, and for some reason I caught it like random as, and I remember like was going over, scoring a try, and looking at Bridget, and she's just laughing. You know how she is. She's just cracking up.
Yo, you too.
And you and
And just
Billy
be
were just
cracking up.
like, "Are you guys alright? Like,
Yeah,
what
like,
just
what
happened?
do you mean? How?
How did that happen?" And me and B
When
would
you're
just
like
be like
captain of the
cracking
like
up.
ruck it up, like that was me. Like I was like, you know what I can do? Solid ball carry. That's what I've got for you. You know, like that's what I could. You know, like, and then you two are this like just like reading each. Oh man, it was one of those ones where you just watch it and like you like have to remind yourself that you've got to then do something. You're like, that was unreal, and then you're like, wait, I've got a job to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
But yeah,
that was pretty epic, and then I think we had brothers,
yeah.
and shout out to all our brothers people, but when we beat brothers, it's like
Woo!
it's I don't know, it's like New Zealand beating Australia or Australia beating New Zealand, like that's what it feels like.
It
It's
was
like a
because it was
rivalry. I don't even know
like
why there was a rivalry,
stacked.
to be honest.
Yeah, there was stacked. Monkey was on that team too. Like, so there was like,
That's right.
you know, there was some mates and stuff across, but then there was also like a bit of niggle in there because we'd had some. I think brothers like rolled us in the first round
Yeah,
because we were
it
like
was
one or
always
two
like
or something.
they'd get up on us and then we'd get up on them, and
Yeah,
it was always kind of
but
like
then
that. But
no, I just remember sitting watching that brothers game, being like, I remember thinking that at no state, like we were behind, and we scored like to win it, like in the last
and
couple of
actually,
minutes.
yeah, it was like right down to the wire. I remember, and even
Yeah,
the
it was like a
last
kick
play,
through too. It was wild.
yeah, Ali put a kick in, and like if they caught it, that would have
Yeah,
been like game over.
and
Like,
it was close.
yeah,
Like it wasn't. So yeah, so I just remember, even though it was that close, I feel like I remember not ever thinking we were going to lose that. Like we just turned up, and I was just like, I don't know. We just played like, yeah, unreal. Like that was so good.
yeah, and yeah, that season just in general, I don't know what it was, but you know, it had some of the greats in there. You had Heth in there as well, and
Oh,
you know, like just playing alongside them, like for a
absolute.
union person to come, like you know, amongst these people, and that's their game, and you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna help
And that
out
was
them,
it
like,
for both of us too, eh? Like coming from union, so we're both like, I remember my first training, I think I placed the ball back like when I got tackled, like I just, and I'm like, everyone's looking at me like, what is wrong with this kid?
yeah,
um and then me being like, oh, that's right, sorry everyone. I remember like, or like Hef being like, oi, only
oh my
one life
gosh,
in the
yes,
10, I'm gonna smack you in the head if you do that again. And be like, oh, sorry, and you know what, I remembered it. You
yeah,
know, like, and just playing like Hef, who doesn't like, just what a technique, like what a professional,
yeah,
fitter than I ever was, and was twice, like not twice my age, but you know what I mean, like had 10, 12 years on me.
mm,
um Technique out of this world. Yeah, like she's just, what a great, like
yeah.
what a legend.
I think it's so cool how like some of those ones, like those ones that are more experienced and stuff, are
Mm.
like right in there at club, but like
Yeah,
not just playing club just to tick a box so that they can, you know, play red, but like a lot
yeah,
of them, like Hess does it, you know, Ali does it over at Brothers,
yeah,
and you know a lot of the other ones, Steve Hancock and stuff, and but how much they just pour into the mix. A lot of people coming through, they're willing to help, and
yeah,
I remember like Hess, like it was halfway through a game, and you know when you go again Union, you know when you go and you're running and trying to run back, and that
yeah.
whole turn in. So I was running backwards because it's like I don't know why, it's just such a Union thing. Like, oh yeah, just shuttle back. She's like,
Shuffle back, yeah.
yeah, and she's like, hey mate, if you turn around and then run, and then like there's some sort of technique kind of thing to do it. She's like, it will actually save you like that little bit more energy. And I
Yo,
remember that, and I just remember being like, you just saved me. Like already, I'm like already bugging, but
yo,
the extra like you know second or whatnot, or get a bit more
yeah,
energy. But those guys that are experienced, man, like give it to them to put the you know put themselves aside for a sec and just help. You know the ones coming through.
absolutely. And like, it's not easy, like especially those like like they've done it, they've got nothing to prove.
Mm.
They're not doing it for it, like No, everyone's like, if you're, no one's there because they're on huge resis or everything or anything.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if you're there because you're given, like, given back to the game, and it goes to show just how much, and it goes to show just the growth of league and stuff in Queensland is because of those girls. Imagine getting to show up to training and you train with Cooper Cronk, like, or you train with, Cam Smith. Like, that's the reality of
Yeah,
some of this club training at the moment in Queensland for league. And yeah, it's unreal.
yeah, 100%. And obviously, the year after, actually, I remember you going to the Reds trial,
Yeah.
and then that happened pretty quick, eh? Like everything kind
Well, I
of
couldn't believe it,
was
to
so
be
quick.
honest.
Yeah,
Like, so I didn't even go to the first week of trials because I was just gearing up for the Red season, for the league season.
yeah,
And like, I wanted to have a crack at playing some rep footy. Um and then I just sort of got convinced, and I'd sort of like got convinced to go down for the second week of them. And I'd always, like, it had always been a dream to play for the Reds, especially playing union. Like, that was how I fell in love with playing footy. And
yeah,
playing, I was like, you know what, if I just do this, then I get to, like, I don't have to wonder anymore. I
yeah,
never have to, if I just give this my best crack, I never have to wonder anymore.
yeah,
And then so I just went down to Reds training, and I just had my best shot.
mm,
And I'd just come back from a collarbone, so I was just like, I just didn't expect to make the first cut, and then I made the first cut, and I didn't, you don't expect to make the next cut, and I just kept making the cut. And I just, like, so much of it is, you've got, like, you obviously work hard, and you try your guts out. And there'd been, like, there'd been a lot of training before then, but I was in the right place at the right time,
mm,
and I gave it my best. And
yeah,
and that sort of, even when the opportunity wasn't great, I'd still swing at it. Or even when it was like, I just sort of went in with that attitude of, like, as long as I try my best, I don't have to be stoked with the result, but I can live with it.
yeah.
And so I played for the Reds that year, and I ended up starting most of their games at as a
Sweet.
hooker,
Yeah,
all but one. And you know with some, like, and I couldn't, like, a lot of it, I was like, it was a big deal to me because I was, there was, like, Ivy Coletta, she's an outstanding hooker here.
yeah,
And you're like, what
100%.
bloody rapid, hey, like, so quick,
Yeah, I remember actually the first
explosive.
time I bumped into her was at a Sunnybank training, and
Yeah.
I remember just like when I watched her, like this is just their training, and I'm like, bro, this looks like a freak. She's got it,
Yeah,
man.
what are you, a back rower? What do you mean?
Yeah, and I was just like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, and then obviously I remember hearing she was a hooker, and then seeing you move into hooker as well when you went into the Reds, and I was like, man, that's huge, like because I'd
Yeah.
seen what the type of player that she was and that, and
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
and to see that, and I was honestly so stoked for you, like, because I remember just you coming back from that injury and then um heading into that red thing, and you're so like a kick back, relax, kind of like go with the flow kind of thing, and it was really cool to
Yeah.
see you. Even as you explained that,
I
like,
was just like, yeah, it was just like, like, it was just, yeah, it was pretty unreal. And then the Reds are a really good team as well. Like, I just happened to be in an outstanding team at a great time. Tyrell Barker, who's at Easts now, he was a fantastic forwards coach.
mm,
Um and then if you are like, and then we played the grand final, and we lost by 3 points, which was pretty devastating against New
mm,
South Wales. But and then it had, like, I'd never had any expectations though, because I was, like, very fresh on the scene. certainly had no expectations, but then we had like a couple of tests at the end of the year coming up, and then I got the call up to the Wallaroos, and like again, like you've got like Ash Masters, who's an OG, used to be a scrum half, so like she's a freak, hey, like she does stuff on the footy field that never in a million years.
Yeah.
But like so like she was there, and we're probably a bit lucky that we're different styles of player too. Like I'm a bit more grindy, and then if you want something to happen, you maybe like that might not have otherwise you put Ash on, because but yeah, and then so then managed to I debuted against Japan in Newcastle, and
Newcastle.
I couldn't believe it. Hey, I was like, that was my like dream. I never thought that would come true. Like I used to think to myself, like, is this silly? Am I like, should I be embarrassed that this is a goal? You know, when you like sit there and think to yourself, you're like, are people like, and not that it, and I sort of look at it now and I think like, bro, who cares what other people, like, I don't really so much, but you do sit there and in your less positive moments go like, is this embarrassing that I'm having that I'm sort of still going for this? And then like I just feel like it sort of goes to show, like, far out, like I got no, I'm not a super talented player. I don't have a high physical intelligence. I can't dance. I don't have rhythm. Like, like those things, and like I'm not steppy or anything. And so I just feel like, like if I can make it, anyone can. You know what I mean? Like, and to stand there and playing for Australia, like, as like born and raised here, and I'm sure the same, with you and New Zealand, like wearing that jersey is the greatest honor, like myself as an individual, I could ever have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no higher honor than representing your country and singing your national anthem for your country, and representing them with pride. And that's very clear when you play, the New Zealand girls, and they the Black Ferns, and they do their haka, and it's like, it's this like incredibly intense emotional moment where it's just like, yo, let's do it. Like,
how was that? Hey,
it's exciting, and unreal. Hey, again, like, what? How is this my life?
Yeah.
How the hell is this my life? That's a dream. And so, like, they're doing the haka, and obviously it's just this, like, you love footy, I love footy. Right now we're playing against each other. Let's do it. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it.
Yeah, it's, we played one test at Eden Park, and I remember we did this captain. I know, Averyl, like,
goals,
what?
man. Like, goals. I was there actually last weekend for the Blues match, and every time when I go there, I'm just like, this is it, man. Eden Park, like.
Yeah. First of all, lovely pitch. Second of all, like, that's almost, I would go as far, like, it's pretty close to being the spiritual home of rugby in New Zealand. Like, Eden Park is like, 100%. It's the Eden Park.
Yeah.
And then you've got, like, for me to be, I just remember captain's run being a little bit emotional that I was there. Like, and it, because it's so not about you as well. Like, it's so about every single person that's contributed to, like, you come, they all come with you. It's not just about you, it's about, like, Panthers, and about every girl there, and it's about, like, every mate I've ever made playing footy, and everyone who's ever encouraged me or gotten around me, and it's just so, it's this, like, it was so not about me, and it was like, but it was incredibly special moment of just, like, this combination of gratefulness and awe, and I guess responsibility as well, but pride.
Yeah, it would have been second, and like, obviously playing at Eden Park, like, not just for you guys coming coming over here, but I know for the Black Ferns, they've been pushing and pushing and pushing to get a game at that stadium, because I know they've played at other ones around New Zealand. There's some great ones here, Forsyth Bar and things like that down in Dunedin. There's some crazy venues, but Eden Park is like gold. And
Yeah.
they'd be just like the Broncos in NRL wanting to play at Suncorp Stadium.
Yeah.
That's their home. That same with Eden Park. And so to
For
see
sure.
the woman playing at that level on that field, with crowds and stuff like that, that'd be pretty epic. And like for yourself, like you mentioned a few times when you like even the emotional part where you start to think of all those people that kind of were with you on your journey, and then like how important it is like culture and like your support team, like your support system, sorry, when you're coming into camps or even
Yeah.
into trainings and things like that. So how important is it to you? What effect does that take on you personally?
Oh, like for me, my family's not real sporty. They love me and they get around. They're very much like, love that this for you. So happy that you're happy. They don't
Yeah,
really get footy. But for me, like having or my mate Laurie in the team, like,
yeah,
so we both made our sort of our debuts in the same game.
yeah.
In
She's a
in
freak too, man. On the
Oh,
field, like,
so Laurie is an actual freak.
bruh,
Like she's the best player I've ever seen. And
100%. Like she is.
she's
I remember when I watched
probably
her.
the best person I've ever met too.
Yeah, I when I watched one of the games, I was like, bro, this chick's a freak. Like,
Yeah,
she's something else, Like,
yes,
and
yeah,
then
like
when I
just one of
see
those
her,
players who just makes something happen.
some of your videos, and she's in it, and she's just like a real down to earth person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never met her
Yeah,
personally, but shout out, you have a fan
yeah.
over here, Laurie.
I'll
But
let her know. You can get in the fan club.
yeah, sounds cool.
Um, yeah, like she's like getting to do that. Like Laura's probably my best mate,
Yeah,
and so and she, like we've been like I met her here at UQ when I was 72 kilos, like soaking wet and still learning the rules and getting to I couldn't like getting to do that, have that experience, and then
mm,
have that experience with someone who's been there from the beginning through all of like the shit days, the days when I'd chuck my toys out of the pram for some reason, or
mm,
and she'd help me pick them back up and put them back in, and like Laurie's probably like one of the other. I wouldn't be here without Laurie. Like,
yeah,
like there are times when, like having that kind of person that
mm,
is, you can train with and you play footy with, and like she's probably the most like my biggest inspiration, like
mm,
seeing the way she trains and her mental game, like that really inspires me and makes me a better person. And was so lucky to get to do that with her, and then just like mates in the team, hey, like the Queensland girls, but then also like, God, you just make like really good mates, really good
yeah,
mates in the team, and getting around each other and being a part of that culture. And you've got everyone's at home too, and all of you guys, like
yeah,
that was pretty special. Like like just everyone who's been a part of that journey, you just feel them in your heart when you're, especially in those when the crunch hits.
yeah,
It's footy, it's a game of footy, and there's a lot riding on it, but at the same time a tackle is still a tackle.
yeah.
But
True.
in those moments when you get to take it all in,
Mm.
you feel them with you, like yeah.
Yeah, no, that's epic, eh? And that's what I love about team sports. You make some really, really great
Oh,
friendships. Some of my best mates I met through footy, whether it be league or union, even here in New Zealand. Like pretty much majority of my friends are from footy. or have met someone through
Oh,
someone
same.
because of footy, you know. But just as we kind of wrap up, just want to ask you, you know, a couple
Yeah.
more questions. One, is there like a most memorable moment across union or league that was kind of like stood out for you, and maybe something that you always look back in on those days when you're just like, oh, I'm pretty tired, you know, chuck in the towel, and then you remember like how good was that feeling at that time? Like, is there like a specific moment that you remember?
Um. Oh, like I there's like
Probably a few.
all of them is like all of them. I think maybe it's funny. It's you think you move the goalposts on yourself, if that makes sense. So like my dream, like I remember seeing my first national anthem. That's pretty dream stuff,
Yeah,
to be honest. Like and yeah, and getting your first. I remember getting my first jersey too, and everything that had gone into it. We had a jersey presentation, and I think it was Steve Larkham presented it, but I just remember my forwards, like our forwards coach for Aussie, Matt Tink. Um, I just wept. Hey, like I can't describe it. Other than that, I'm getting like a little bit teary now, but like what that meant to me, getting that jersey. I never with a that gold jersey with a 2 on the back, like, and that was my jersey.
mm,
I like, and I never thought I would ever be there ever.
mm.
It like what it like getting to live like yeah, that's probably my moment. I reckon getting that jersey because of what it meant and
Yeah,
because of how hard it was to get there.
yeah,
It meant
100%.
so much.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's probably my moment.
probably like in that moment as well, you start to think back to all those like sprint sessions that you had to do, all those fitness sessions where you're just like, oh, why am I doing this? And you know the Broncos, you know there's Malcolm, all that
It's
stuff,
more
you
those
know.
moments where you're sitting there like yeah, it's more those moments where you like sit there and think like how many times did I come so close to being like to being right on the edge of being like or just another injury or like you know like you get some more serious ones or some concussion ones where you're sitting there trying to weigh up like do I stop, you
Yeah,
know, like do it like and you look at how close it is and yeah that's probably what falls into it is all those moments where it was like heartbreaking
yeah,
and then to get there yeah it was that's probably it.
yeah. And another one that would be, is there like a goal or like a dream that you're yet to achieve? I know World Cup is around the corner,
Mm.
and that, but is there something that you aim for, or what's another goal that you're on the journey at the moment waiting to achieve?
It's I don't know. I don't think you know we want to like as Australia we want to we want to win the World Cup. Why would like you don't show up to not win?
Yeah,
Um, I think certainly developing like I suppose my goals at the moment are within myself are to be the best player that I can be. Like at the moment, my like just with how uncertain times are, like
mm,
the most certainty I suppose I could find a quantifiable why of I want to see how far like yeah I can take this if that makes sense. Like
yeah, same.
um I want to reach my potential
Yeah,
and you know I want to be the best I can be and yeah like I said before like as long as I you know be the best I can be I can live with as long as I have the best swing at this I can
mm,
then that's then I can live with myself you know.
yeah, 100%. And that's so cool. Because I know like the feeling that you'd get once you've reached the part where you're like, man, I'm at my peak. You know what I mean? Like that would be an unreal feeling, and you're kind of just like tapping into it now. Like you haven't kind of gone all the way in, and already you're just like, what is this real? You know, kind of
Yeah.
thing. But lastly, is there a time at all during any of your footy career that you went through a stage where you kind of lost the love of the game,
Yeah.
and if obviously you've been through it, like how did you respark that love? Because it's really hard to be in that place and then try and bounce back when you don't enjoy what you're doing.
100%. Yeah. And like, I don't know, I haven't found having that break for league, that was really important for me and
Yeah,
for my love of footy. Getting to do that is yeah, getting to find that break, and I did find my love for footy again, and then just readjusting the way I looked at it.
yeah,
So like readjusting, um, like just going in and having a crack, and sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating, especially with union in Queensland. Isn't like it isn't really a professional pathway for 15s.
yeah,
And sometimes when you look at the big picture of that, it can get a little bit disheartening.
mm,
But then, the best thing about union and league as well here in Queensland, but is that like I just love union. I like
that's it.
I'll always love it, and it will always be like I love union.
Yeah,
Um, and it's so inclusive. It's got it's built for everyone.
mm,
Everyone can have a crack, and so yeah, and so that's probably I found having time away and just like getting like refreshing, finding out what's going to work for me in the long run,
mm,
because it couldn't just be about trying to get places or trying to achieve things. It had to sort of be more about why,
yeah,
and about trying to just achieve the best, like do as best as I can,
yeah,
and and be able to contribute in the most positive way that I can to this thing that I love.
mm,
And if that was like that's how I sort of found it. Is I sort of took a bit of time away, and I found out why. And I suppose
yeah,
that would be how I would get, like, yeah, like if and everyone finds it. Everyone gets to that point where they sit down, and you sort of have to sit down and say why. And if the answer is because I love it, then that's the answer, which
yeah,
was sort of where I came to. And that sort of, yeah, helped me really refine my love of the game. And yeah, that sort of got me through.
yeah, epic. And that's so cool, man. Because like the athletes coming through or athletes playing now, will go through stages like this, and just hearing it from someone who's been there and has pushed past that. The whole purpose of this podcast is to help and inspire, encourage, or empower people to not give up. And so to
And
hear it
like
from you,
for real, like right now, I'm in Brisbane. It's a Thursday night. I'm tired. Um, it's raining, which is gross, and cold, which Queenslanders do not like. And like don't like. I suppose that's another thing. My life on the surface at the moment looks fucking great. Hey, like it looks like I achieved everything I ever wanted. My dreams came true. Unbelievable. But I still have days when it's hard and when I struggle, and that's okay. And you've got to find, and like you remember your whys, and it's okay if some days it's hard and a bit shit. Like I suppose that's another thing, is that no mistake that I'm cruisy and I nail it every time. I definitely don't. I make it sound like I cruise through real easy, like in this podcast, because that makes me look great. But like I used to go to some of those pre-seasons at the Reds and I'd feel sick all day, and then I'd like pep talk myself in the car and be like, okay, just make it through today. Just make it through today. You don't have to win. You just have to survive. Like, you just have to do it. Like, just try your hardest.
Mm.
And like, you know, I lost, like, you know, when you like lose a fitness session, like when you lose conditioning, like some people don't know how bad that is. But when you
Yeah.
lose an activity that does not have a winner or a loser, it is grim. Like, any front row will tell you, like, suffering through conditioning can be rough.
It's
And
almost like
like, I just remember
almost puts you
once,
on the
like,
edge, like this
yo,
is
you're
it,
sitting there and you're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
literally.
And you're like, I just remember making a deal with myself. I've cried in every Reds preseason. I remember, like, we were doing half gases where we're like you just basically, like, it's like other side of the field, down, up, back to your side of the field, down, up. For some reason, I was just so gassed that day. And I just remember making a deal with myself that I would either stop or cry, and I wasn't going to stop. So, like, I was just like we call it like crunning. So when you just like, like, you're just like not handling it, the emotional cup is full. You've had a really big day at work or whatever. And I just was like, right, well, I'm going to have to deload somehow. So I guess it's going to be the crying. And, like, you know, you just deal with it. You have a laugh about it later. You're like, yeah, look, sorry about that, everybody. Pulled a little bit of a heartstring, but what can you do? You know, like, what do you do?
Yeah,
You
exactly,
just got to crack on.
100%. And I'm sure, man, I feel you. Like the minute people get hyped up for a season, and then you hear the word pre-season, and it's like, can I
Yep.
just like do my own
All right, everyone on the
pre-season?
line.
No.
And,
And it's just like, yep, we're going again in 3, 2, and then I can just
oh,
hear his
I
voice,
feel
go.
triggered by that. Hey, like,
Oh
I just
man,
tasted adrenaline on my tongue. But
seriously,
yeah, I
man.
suppose that's probably what is important to me too, that like I convey, is like, you do these, like, especially now with social media and that, like, you do see a lot of, like, you know, you see these polished pictures and that looks great. But what I love about you, and you know, I think I've conveyed this to you, mate, is being like, putting stuff out there that isn't glamorous and shows, like, it gives other people permission to be vulnerable. And
Yeah,
that's something I'm quite like, by taking responsibility and being vulnerable in yourself, you allow other people to be vulnerable, and it you know, it starts making connections. And yeah, I think that's what, you know, and I've said this to you, is what's so inspiring about yourself, mate, is, you know, through all of this, like, you know, and you still go through it, and like how inspiring your attitude is. And yeah, I really, that's important to me, is how cool being vulnerable is.
yeah. And thanks, Adrian. Honestly, it means a lot. And I guess with this whole podcast thing, like I thought about it for ages, but talking like this in front of the camera is like so not me. Like I'll talk with you, like have a yarn outside, off
Yo,
camera, But to be like this in a vulnerable setting, it's not like you can just cut and edit it. Like once you say it, it's out.
yeah,
But like I was seeing like the guys in union and in league openly start to share some of their struggles, but I never saw anything for the women in the footy industry,
yo,
obviously because I love footy. And so for me, I was like, let's give them a platform where they can, and that's the whole purpose of the name of the podcast, Lights Off, is when the media's not there, when everything's switched off.
yo,
Like, who are you, like as a person? Yeah, you're an athlete, but you're a person first, And so
yeah,
I get inspired by hearing people's, journey. Like, and every time I talk to
yeah,
someone for a podcast like this, it's just like, what? Like I saw you up here, like I saw your social media, your Instagram, and then you
yo,
hear this story and you're like, how the heck are you still standing? How did you not give up?
yo,
You know what I mean? And for
yeah,
me, like when I was coming up through the footy and stuff, if I had heard stories like this, like it honestly would have helped me heaps. So for me, I'm just like, now's the time that we can actually, give back to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Let people know that, like, just because you're having a rough day or whatever doesn't mean that you're not worthy of your goals, or it doesn't mean that just because you don't, like, you're not a freak, or just because you don't nail it every single time. And, like, far out, I've gotten it wrong more times than I've got it right, and I'll still get it wrong more times than I get it right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
And I think it's so
just,
cool that
yeah,
you mentioned it, because some people might be like, oh, I don't have the best step, or I'm not known for my defense. But the thing that I love about yourself, and the one thing that I noticed the most, is you're like a workaholic on the field, And that um that quote, like, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. That
yeah,
only I kind of only understood that quote when I moved to Brisbane and when I came to league and in Panthers and that, because like you could work your butt off. I mean, you could be the most talented person, sorry, but if you're not willing to work hard, like you only be kept there for so long. And for you, and I watch you, I'm like, this chick is like working. I need to get up, like you know what I mean? And so I admire so much people that work so hard on the field, but also off the field. Like when people aren't watching, I don't see you post every day like what you benching, what you're doing, but you're doing it anyways, um and then you're always working out. And so I think for people who get to know you like behind the scenes is real inspiring, because it kind of everything starts to make sense. Like, oh, that's why she does what she do. Oh, that's why she's so chill, like, because she takes the time to maybe draw, to kind of relax, you know, what I mean?
sure.
And honestly, I'm so grateful for your vulnerability on the platform
Oh, I'm obviously,
today.
like, super flattered that you asked me to chat, bro. Like, and yeah, and just you inspire me so much that, like, the least I could do is come on, and we'll probably have a yarn anyway, so might as well do it for a good cause.
Just before you go, I just want to say thank you so much for being
Oh,
real on the podcast. For everyone watching, I know that they would have got something out of it. So yeah, I
no,
just want to say a massive
yeah,
thanks. Everyone that's watching, hope you did get something out of it. If you haven't already, obviously make sure you subscribe below. But mate, thank you
definitely.
so much for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me, bro. It's been the best. Thanks so much.